Let's go.
On this episode, we head up to Bly Reef to chase GTs, doggies, and a heap of other species.
Welcome to my fishing place, the place to be, and it certainly was a little while ago when I took Big Red and Kezza on their first trip to the Coral Sea. What did you think, Kezza?
Mate, it was outstanding. It was just something like I'd never done anything like it before. Just blew my mind, loved it. Too good. Big Red?
Well, Dazza often talks about the power of the GT, and once you hook one, you understand why.
You do.
Because it's almost painful. It is just...
It's painful to watch Big Red pull. I know that.
hit that lure, they hit that lure, and then it's game on. It was awesome. Loved it.
I totally underestimated exactly what Lisa Dazza talks about, how hard they pull. They flip and just smoke it, and it is just hang on for all you've got. It's like, and I didn't even get a giant one. I just can't even imagine what they're like, but it was awesome.
So, day half.
Day half.
What do you even mean by day half?
Well, it's not day one yet, you're still travelling. So it's day half.
Wow.
So day half, we fly up to sweltering Cairns, and it is sweltering.
A lot warmer than I was in Melbourne.
And it is Cairns, and I've been chatting to Dave from Tropical Tackle. Showed us his stash of gear downstairs, and it was just good to meet up with a Cairns local and have a good few yarns before we travelled on.
Day one though, we get on a plane and we fly up to the Lockhart River. And how awesome is it when you're flying over those reefs and it's just like greeny blue water with just these, you can just see big bommies and reefs everywhere. And the same thing that we say every time, you just think, there's gotta be fish there. But I was getting super pumped on the plane. I couldn't help myself.
Your casting finger gets itchy.
Oh, it doesn't matter what you do, you just gotta get a lure in the water. Then we saw sea snakes out there. Right on the shore as we're loading gear in the boat. I was just super, super pumped. I couldn't get out there quick
Well,
enough.
that's the thing. It's like if you're flying on a plane to, Cairns, then you're flying on a smaller plane, then you're taking a four-wheel drive for an hour, you're getting pretty remote. About to get on the boat, catch some big GTs. And the chances of those waters being fished a lot reduce greatly. You just because there's not that many people there, you're going to catch some fish.
Yeah.
So first fish of the trip, I don't think was a GT.
No, it wasn't. I was that keen to fish. I was that pumped. The captain said, "Oh, you can fish off the back of the boat if you want." And I thought, damn straight I'm fishing off the back of the boat. So I just rigged up a soft plastic, and again, how could you not catch a fish? Just using expert technique that I've developed over years of fishing. And boom! And Karen was doubting, going, as if.
Big Red, he's always spinning yarn.
Number one fish to me.
Yeah, it was. Number one fish goes to Big Red. So that was a good start. We had a fish before we were fishing. That's a win.
Show them the footage.
No evidence.
That's fine. Haters gonna hate.
My silver perch was real. That was a Sasquatch. No fish at all.
How big was it?
Yeah, it was huge. Can't trust the yank. In case you didn't catch that, neither did Big Red. There's no footage that he actually caught the
It hurts that they don't believe me I caught a fish.
But Dazza, you did get the first fish, a GT.
Yeah, it's always great when you're out there, that's the target species. I mean, there's other ones, but you really want to get that first GT in the boat. And day one, got a nice GT in the boat, pretty much first up.
Up after the break, Dazza and Kezza get stuck into the GT. So there we are, headed out to the Coral Sea.
Guaranteed fish.
And this is my first experience catching GTs, and it was every little bit as exciting as everyone had told me. The first one I hooked up on a yellow mad scad, and I just could not believe how just screaming runs this thing did, and you lock the rod in under your leg and you're just hanging on and it's going.
Come on today.
It was just, honestly, it was like something I'd never done before, and just the raw power of these fish. You get it in, and like I said, it wasn't even a mega one, but I was just totally stuffed.
Nice biscuit.
Oh!
GT.
And I sit on the boat and he just plonks it in your lap for a photo. But I was just so pumped to get one in the boat, and it was just too good. The power, just unbelievable.
I'm stuffed. Kevin helped me with the big one, man. I couldn't walk. I could hardly hang on to the rod.
Kezza, you got a couple.
Yeah, first up, got a nice GT on this mustard bomb.
Which outfished.
It did.
Oh.
It did. I mean, steal that lure.
I wanted to cut your line because I was sick
It just
of you
seemed that
catching fish.
it was one of those lures that just performed. So but you know, with those GTs, I mean, you know, when you hook one up, like you say, it's just unbelievable. You're using 100-pound braid. You're trying to stop that fish getting back to the reef. It's basically a tug of war. Either you win or they win. And like you said, when you finally boat that fish, you're that tired, the guide says, quick, cast again, there's more GTs. You go, no, you cast. I'm not throwing my lure in there again, it's going to get eaten.
Sorry. There's big fish out there. There's fish.
People think you're actually going for a relaxing time. When you first cast those rods, you're like, you want me to do this for how long today? And like, you need, you know, they say, oh, you need gloves. I go, yeah, you're right, you need gloves. Right, you need gloves. I nearly tore the end of my finger off so many times, and it's just, you can get a great distance, but it is just like, it's not just the cast. Once the lure's out there, that's only half the job. The next thing you just do, woof. It's tough fishing. It's great, rewarding fishing, but it's hard work. I remember going to the bed first night, it's like, oh, my shoulders were killing me. But it's like, you're using very heavy tackle,
Right.
so you know when something gets on. You're just out there, and it just can be anything. And it can hit hard. Very hard.
Can you wind it in, mate? We want another car. Come on. Ready, baby. What are you doing stuffing around there? Get it in here. There you go. Go up. It is such an adrenaline rush to hook one of these fish and just have that real screaming. I just can't rate it high enough.
Yeah.
Up after the break, the action heats up. It's
not all just casting big lures. In some of those places, there's a lot of other fishing to be done. One style of fishing which I hadn't really done with the Nomad crew before was using these little micro jigs.
Supposed to be.
I mean, a lot of people use them down here for snapper and various things, but hadn't done much of that jigging. And we, you know, very much like soft plastic fishing. You're pulling up on some bommies,
Goodbye.
you know, drifting over some great ground. You're seeing a lot of bait, and you're dropping these little micro jigs down and jig, mate. They are unbelievable.
It's on, isn't it?
It is on.
Time on, drop down, and then.
Yeah,
It
the
was
coral,
sick.
things like coral trout, red bass, you know, even GTs, mate, they love these things.
Yeah.
You know, like how many coral trout must we pulled up on those little jigs? Unbelievable, and so much fun. Like you're using lighter gear.
Yep.
Instead of your big reels, you might have 30-pound or 40-pound braid. You know, you're dropping these things down and you know, jig, whack. You certainly know when you get hit.
So the challenge is, the ever-present challenge is to keep Big Red's ampage meter up.
No fish yet.
That's a massive challenge, right?
It wasn't
wow.
up hugely after one full day with no GTs for Big Red. There was a little bit of a challenge, a bit of a struggle.
I've got a lot of self-doubt creeping in, Mark. Self-doubt.
But day 2 comes the money catch, and you got your first GT.
Day 2, first GT EVs. And what a feeling. As the Toyota slogan goes, oh, what a feeling. So there I was, you know, I cast all day 1, plenty of, you know, popping, plenty of using the mad scads, all this kind of stuff, and I eventually tied on this lure that I got from old Dave at Tropical Tackle. I remember sitting in there thinking, that is a good colour. And again, chooses the lure. And so I'm casting, and all of a sudden, again, you see the black shadow, and boom, I'm on. And I just could not believe how hard these things fight. And it wasn't a massive GT either, but you're just on and you just, because you've been casting so long, you're already tired. And then when you get one on, it just, mate, they just pull like a freight train. And you know, for all of you who have caught a GT, you know what I'm talking about. Just the screaming drag, the bend in the rod, and just the anticipation of it actually staying on your lure.
Double lead, you gotta get back. Yeah! To the back lead, hurry up! To the back. Yes!
Right, and you're just waiting, and finally you bring it in, and you're exhausted, but you're so exhilarated. Somewhat elated. It was just my first GT ever, and I was super pumped. And for that reason, this battle-scarred lure, I want to put that on the board as my first ever GT. So I'll pop him up here.
So Big Red, I'm hearing a common theme for those that have watched our show for a while. Big Red claims to always be able to pick the colour of the lure that's going to catch his next fish. Is that correct, Big Red?
I feel I'm going to be entrapped no matter what I say.
Well, I'm just going to put it out there. If you would like to know the colour of the lure to catch your next fish, if you send Big Red an email and the species and the area in which you're fishing, he will give you the colour of the lure. You give him the lure and he'll research and tell you the colour to go and purchase, and it's as close as we can get to giving you a fish guarantee.
BRP, Big Red Predictions.
And I back it.
Guaranteed not to fail.
And I back that. I think I could choose, but it does depend. Not everyone has my casting ability.
Right. So there is your out. Your casting ability has to match at least Big Red's ability, and just make sure you measure up to these couple of casts.
Got a lure prodded here, fellas. If
Anybody see that car? Oh, that really hurt my finger.
So send in your need for a prediction and Big Red will get onto it. Coming up next, we do jigging in the deep water, and it's a race to beat the sharks. It's the great thing about the Coral Sea is it's not just the awesome fish, but it's the beauty of the place. And we hit up Sand Island. I don't know if it's called Sand Island, but that's what we called it.
And there was a bit of a bay area, and there was bait everywhere, wasn't there? Just getting slammed.
And where there's bait in that place, there's always big fish.
Not a big one, little.
We actually saw a lot of fish feeding, and we thought it was like the smaller GTs and, you know, some mixed reefs, fish and stuff that were smashing this bait.
This line is running.
But, you know, throw the big popper in, and next thing, out of nowhere, about a 20 kegger GT comes up and smacks it. And you're fighting a big GT in shallow water, which is always a lot of fun.
Oh,
so got that in. That's a better one. That's better. That's better, GT. Oh. And then we thought, well, this is a prime area. So again, give the old MFP lure a run. Bluey. Bluey.
Amazing that the MFP lure comes through, and it was so nice to be, you know, instead of casting those massive reels, I tied that on for a bit. Then my old favourite, the Barra Classic, I threw out an Elton John Barra Classic and pulled up a fish. It was just great fun. It was a good intermission to some really heavy fishing.
I had a mackerel come and grab my fishing place B52. I couldn't believe it. I just have cast out. Next minute, it's just gone. Mackerel, he's jumped out of the water. I couldn't believe I got a mackerel to the boat. Got some pics with it, with the old MFP. It was just like this weird little session where we just got a heap of fun fish on light gear, had a blast, and just in the middle of nowhere.
Get him in, get him in. They target that.
That's a great fish.
Oh,
Yeah!
yeah! Lure and let him go. He'll go like a rocket.
I think we caught probably 3 or 4, maybe half a dozen
Had to,
species
yeah, had
on
to.
that lure. I mean, I caught a little GT on it, first GT on the MFP lure. We caught the Barracuda, Spaniard. I caught a little stripey. There's quite a few fish caught on the MFP lure in that little bay off the Sand Island. It was such a good time.
So we got in the tenders and headed out to some of the deeper water to chase one of Daz's nemesises, the dogtooth tuna.
I hooked up a couple, but both times got sharked.
One. Oh, gone.
I think we
gone.
We got to a point where we were doing a countdown for the sharks. We were counting
10,
down 10, 9, 8, because we knew someone was going to get smoked. 4, 3, 2, 1. You've survived the count. Up, Big Red. Hey, go, come on, come on. Come on, Leroy. Go. Oh, there we go. Shark is gone.
How do you feel, Leroy?
In fact, I got a little excited at one point and I literally pulled a fish out of the water. I pulled it out of the shark's reach, straight up into the boat.
Shark, 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 shark!
Sharks. Pulled him into the boat! Yes! Man, just wild out there in that deep water.
And as every fisherman knows, the best thing about fishing is just the total unexpected things that happen. After we'd been jigging for doggies, we decided to go out trolling. And we're just trolling away and all of a sudden, bzzz, off it goes. And I'm happy days reeling it in and I see a barracuda. And anyway, barracuda, but the barracuda gets off. Oh, okay. And there was the lure just floating in the water like seconds after the barracuda had come off. And then from underneath the boat, the other side comes this flash of lightning and again just bang, whoa! And it was a massive Spanish mackerel and it fought like a demon. And I was, what is this thing?
Oh, that was sick!
That was quite funny. Oh, woo!
Leroy!
Shark after him.
Oh no!
Oh.
Look at you, shark! Sharky! Oh yeah!
Got leader. I finally got it in. There's a picture of that, but it's just I wasn't even moving. And to go to a place where you don't even have to move your lure is very special. And that again, that was just a moment that will live on. Just getting totally worked over by that Spanish mackerel. Just brilliant.
It was
Brilliant time.
Okay, everybody, make sure you grab one of these bad cats, get out, get a photo with it, send it to us, and let us make you famous. Don't forget to join us next week for part 2 of the Coral Sea, where we have one of the most unlikely catches ever, and I face some devastating losses.